Today we're looking at the picture of if functions. Welcome to Excel 8, TigerComp. If is a powerful word, right? If you clean your room, then you get ice cream, right? It sets up conditions. If you do something, then something else is going to happen. If you don't do something, then something else is not going to happen, right? If we go back to our picture of cleaning your room, if you're expecting ice cream, however you don't clean your room, chances are you're not going to get ice cream. Excel can use the same idea, this if idea, and it can help us to utilize this function to set up our own conditions, right? And so we're going to try and do that, and we can actually use this to help us understand some time management aspects of our lives, and use Excel to help us understand this. So let's go to Excel, right? Open up a new document, and as you open up a new document, you want to make your screen look like this right here, okay? And if you can't see it in the video, don't be afraid to open up the tutorial, and you'll have the little box right here that you can copy also, all right? All right, hopefully you have all of this inserted into your Excel spreadsheet now. If you don't, then you need to pause the video and go back and do that, or else you're kind of wasting your time watching this while we're going through all of this, all right? All right, let's work on this together then. So we have our different categories. We've got computer time, TV, video games, and we want to know how this if function works together with this information, all right? In general, if we have a number saying, okay, we're going to spend 25 minutes on the computer a night, right? In the end, our results are going to either be we did just that, right? We met that, and so our results are okay. But if we go over that, then we really did too much, right? So let's put an if function to kind of tell us that. So we're going to go to D6, right? Go up to functions, insert formula, right? And you can type in if, though I think it's right there. Right? Once you type in if, click OK, and you're going to get this kind of statement. All right. So what do we want to do here? If the actual amount is greater than the reasonable amount value, then we want the results to be too much. For everything else, we want the result to be okay. Now, of course, that all isn't going to fit into these boxes. So instead, it's kind of split all of that statement into a number of different places. Right? So the logic test box can only return true or false values. Because of this, we have to use one of the comparison operators, greater than, less than, greater than and equal to. We've seen those ideas before. And as you look down at your keyboard, just right of the letter M, you see the greater and less than symbols, and you know where the equal is because of the plus value. All right. And if you're not familiar with these, you can see all of them on the tutorial right here and how they work within Excel, right? All right, so if we want it to focus on just this first part, if the actual amount is greater than the reasonable amount value, right? We can put that into our Excel function then and utilize that. So we're going to say if B6, right? So B6, so we can click on B6 or type it, up to you, is greater than, right? And then we can click on A6, right? Then we're going to get, right? You see false coming up, and we want to say too much on our screen though. So if it's is true, right, we're going to write too much. So we have something that looks just like that. Right? Now, I just typed it in like this. However, it is super important that you have quotation marks around that, or else it's not really going to utilize that. All right. Then, of course, our false statement is saying, okay, if it's less than 25, then it's good. Right? We met our goal. We didn't go over our goal. Even if we're equal to 25, we're okay. All right. And so, as we're looking up here, we're looking into what is happening here. And so we can, right, with parentheses, okay, not parentheses, quotations. And if you look up here now, you realize that we have our if statement and we got our commas separating everything exactly where we need them, right? And so everything gets separated, and then if we click OK, the results are going to say OK. Now, of course, it's saying OK because technically there's nothing in here, so it's kind of thinking about it like 0, all right? However, if we were to start typing numbers in, right, if I type 35 in, you're going to see how that automatically changes to too much. If I type 15 in, it makes its way back to this value of OK. All right. So what I want you to do here is I want you to now recreate these values for TV and for video games, right? I'm just going to kind of go through it, and hopefully you can follow along as we're going through that, right? If statement, we're saying if this is quotation marks, oops, quotation marks, too much, quotation marks, okay. Click there. Right? You can just throw in a value there just to make sure it's working. And then of course here, right, another if statement. Okay. And now we're going to say 14 is greater than, and then throw this one in there. And if the value is true, we're going to say too much, whoops, much, and okay. So we see all those different parts. We can double check, make sure our function is working. And so we've built these, they're working, everything is good. So here's our little tutorial, and we're going to change our first sheet name. We're going to call this School Night. We did this one together. You should have this one completed. And now we're going to create a couple more. All right. The second one is going to be called Budget. All right. And as you work through Budget, you've been given a full set of directions. All right. To do this, you're going to work with very, very similar ideas. All right. But you're going to have a few more categories, a few more numbers to work with, and you're going to plug these in. All right. So as you work through these, we're going to really create a budget. And as you use that budget, you know, and you can definitely use this someday in the future, is utilize this with your budget to figure out all your little different funds here, right? But as you're working with this, you're going to put in these if statements to help you out. So if you utilize the tutorial for the second part of this, right, you're creating this new budget, right? You definitely got to create a title, just like we had a title on ours. And you have 5 categories, right? instead of computer time, TV, video games, now you're going to have church, college fund savings, long-term spending, and short-term spending. Right? And then your 3 column headings are going to be budget amount, spent, and result. Right? And so you have all these different ideas. Okay? So like here in Excel 8, right, we had actual results. So you're actually going to have 3 columns. We do reasonable amount, actual amount, results. Right? Your columns now are going to be what we were looking here: budget amount, spent, and result. All right, so a few changes there. From here, you're going to be plugging in percentages. We're going to be using the phrase too little and good for understanding if we went above budget or not. And then a couple other little changes along the way. We see poor choice in here, right? And in the tutorial, as we went through the school night together, we just kind of threw in random numbers here. But for your stuff now, right, as we look at the budget here, there are actual numbers you have to plug in, which you can find at the bottom part of the tutorial, right? Now, if for some reason the math side of it is not something you want to deal with, feel free to use a calculator or use Excel to do your calculations for you as you're figuring out all these different percentages. All right. So that's Excel. What is this? 8. All right. Excel 8. All right. Ask if you have any questions. Pursue excellence. Have fun. This is Excel 8.